Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another premiere draft of Streets of New Capenna, so without further ado, let's just get into it. Our rare here, Avon Heartstabber, is not the craziest rare ever. It's fine, but it's more like an uncommon, solid uncommon or like a good common power level card, because you're not going to have 5 or more mana values in your graveyard that often, so basically 2 mana 1/1 flyer that mills 2 and draws a card when it dies. Not really first pickable in terms of gold power level. I honestly think Ceremonial Groundbreaker is the strongest multicolored card in this pack if we want to start 2 colors off the bat, but there's also some pretty powerful monocolored cards, specifically just Rafine's Informant being one of the best white commons. This is a 2 mana 2/1 that connives when it enters the battlefield, allowing you to draw a card, discard a card. If you discard an online card, this is a 2 mana 3/2. Which is incredibly aggressive, and it's one of the big reasons that this format is so aggressive. There's a lot of cards like that can just be 2 mana 3/2s and such, so I like Rafine's Informant or Ceremonial Groundbreaker the best here. I think I'm just going to go with Informant, see if I can hop on the white train, see where it leads us, and we get past a Soul of Emancipation, which is a very splashable rare because it's a 7 mana card. You don't need your off color of mana until turn 7 at the absolute earliest, so I mean, I'm just going to slam dunk this card. It is very, very powerful. 7 mana for a 5/7, destroy up to 3 other non-land permanents when it comes into play, and for each of those permanents, its controller creates a 3/3 white angel. So it's really good with shield tokens. You can trade your shield tokens into 3/3 flyers. You can trade your treasure tokens up into turning them into 3/3 flyers as well. It's great with all that kind of expendable stuff, so pretty happy to take Soul of Emancipation here. Somebody took a common out of here, though. The only common I could possibly imagine taking over Soul of Emancipation would be Inspiring Overseer, though. So it's going to be a little rough. We'll be competing for white from the right, most likely. But who knows? Maybe somebody just really likes Murder or something. Maybe there was a Murder in this pack. I don't know. Corpse Appraiser is a pretty great uncommon if this rare weren't in here. But I'm going for the Soul of Emancipation. Get past another Rafine's Informant. Pretty good sign that at least the packs have a lot of white cards at the start here for us. So I'll scoop up another Rafine's Informant. These multicolored cards are pretty off-color from our beginning, so we're not going to hop onto those. They're not powerful enough to buck us off the Soul of Emancipation train. We do have a solid dual land, but Rafine's Informant is a strong enough card. I'm going to take it over Mana Fixing. Yeah, Rafine's Informant seems like a pretty nice pickup here. Now we have Hold for Ransom. We can just stick to primarily white cards so far. The way that this draft format works in terms of the color pairings is that they're all going to be allied colors. So if we're playing a 2-color deck with white as our main color, we're either going to go white-green or white-blue. So important to keep that in mind here. So I'm going to stick to primarily white at first, and then hopefully I can latch on to a primary second color, either blue or green. I really prefer to be focused on 2 colors and just kind of splash a third in this format, so that's what I'm going to try to do here. And I'm not super certain which color I should go into because Voice of the Vermin is pretty solid, but so is Run Out of Town. That's pretty solid, and there's also Hold for Ransom, which is solid and just mono white. So when I'm really stuck between these 3, I don't value any of these 3 massively far over any of the others. I'm just going to stick to the easiest one to take, which is just the white card, so we still get to choose between green or blue later. Well, that's a super late Celestial Regulator. Well, I guess it's only pick 6. But still, it's late enough. This card is very, very good. 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, tap a creature you don't control, and if you have a card with a counter on it, you get to keep that card tapped down for a turn. This is just a huge tempo play, really quick, evasive threat. Flyers play pretty well in this format. I am pretty happy to scoop up Regulator, try to get on the blue-white train here. Wow. Wow. Everything in this pack is in brokers. Now, there are some filler cards that aren't great, like Capenna Express and Disdainful Stroke, but Strong Arm's fine. Entourage and Out of the Way are great, and Civil Servant is fantastic as well. Are we white-green? There's even Botanical Plaza and Cabaret Courtyard in here for green-white mana fixing. Maybe I jumped onto this regulator too soon. Maybe we're pushing a green-white primarily. Elegant Entourage is kind of splashable, but Civil Servant's so good on 2. Don't have any citizens to go with it yet. Oh, this is so rough. I'm going to go with Entourage, but I'm so tempted to hop on the citizens train there. It honestly just looks like blue, white, green is wide open. Just brokers is open. We could really do anything. Like, the world is our oyster here. Yeah, a bunch of great cards again. Voice of the Vermin and Out of the Way in this pack. Like these both a lot. hoping we get to be like blue-white splash the green, but honestly, whichever way it goes, we're gonna be fine. We could even take the mana fixing. I don't think mana fixing is better than these cards, so they're both great. I'm gonna go for out of the way. See if we can be the just super aggro blue-white deck that has all these tempo removal spells and ways to lock down opposing threats. Take a white-green mana fixer or a quick draw dagger here, which is solid if you're getting into combat a lot. I think I'm going to get some mana fixing now. I have been passing it up a lot. There's still a Corpse Appraiser in here. A lot of really good stuff in this draft pod. There's no way we're playing Corpse Appraiser. I don't try to play 5-color ever in this format, so that's just not going to happen. We'll take a Paragon of Modernity. Rather not play it, but it does lend itself to the flying theme we could get in blue-white. This has been a high power level draft pod, a lot of great cards. We're still getting Botanical Plazas here. I'm going to take that over the Combat Trick and the Paragon. Mana fixing, pretty important when you're trying to splash a big dork like that. Ominous Parcel's fine mana fixing if we don't get enough. It can pull any basic out of our deck, or it turns into a removal spell if we've already drawn enough lands, and I'm not very big fan of Attended Socialite. Just not a big fan of 1 toughness creatures if I can avoid them. Voice the Vermins are just going to go massively late if we really wanted them, and a Warm Welcome really late here. Wow, 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 wow. Alright. So, actually have more green than blue now. Our green cards are a little weaker. Voice of the Vermin and Warm Welcome are just like kind of fine. Our 2 blue cards are both great, but it's really important to keep in mind. This is going to be a pretty easy third copy of Rafine's Informant over an Expendable Lackey and not much else for brokers for blue, white, green. Great black rare here, but that's not happening. I'm not going to try to dump all of our green and our Soul of Emancipation and go for an Obscura deck or something, especially because that's a double black rare. Maybe if it was a black and 3, I'd try to play it, but double black's a bit rough to get to. So now we have Echo Inspector for the blue-white Flyers deck if we go in that direction. We also have Ceremonial Groundbreaker for the green-white Citizens deck if we go in that direction. That being said, we only have 1 Citizen so far for that strategy, unfortunately. But this is quite the equipment for it. Magical Christmas Land in this Dream Pod, we could have just been green-white Citizens from the get-go, taking that Ceremonial Groundbreaker over one of these Informants, I guess. But I think where we're at here, I'm pretty happy to take Echo Inspector. I think we are doing the thing where we're blue-white as the core, splashing some later game green, like maybe an Entourage and a Soul of Emancipation. We'd like to have all of our early drops be blue cards if we can. Here's a white-blue mana fixing land I'm pretty happy to take because there's not a lot going on here again in green, white, blue. There's a Strong Arm, which is fine, Broker's Veteran, which is fine, but neither are particularly exciting. I'm going to take the Storefront. And Broker's Charm is very splashable. Removal. One of your creatures gets +1/+0 till end of turn and deals damage equal to its power to an opposing creature, so it's not a fight spell. Your creature just gets to deal damage at no risk to itself. It can also blow up an enchantment or draw 2 cards, so it's flexible as well, where it can randomly beat a Rabble Rousing. It can randomly draw 2 cards if you just need more cards. Broker's Charm is quite the charm. It's probably the best one in Limited. Other nice pickups would be Skybridge Towers or Rock's Pummeler would be solid wheels. Decently easy Broker's Charm there. Another Echo Inspector is a slam dunk auto pick here, taking it over a green-white dual land or a, I don't know, boon a safety little trick or something. Witness Protection wouldn't be horrible in this archetype because it does turn something into a 1/1 with no abilities. It does shut off flying blockers, so this is one of the few archetypes I think Witness Protection might actually be okay. I don't like Capenna Express or Chrome Cat. They're not great for their mana costs. I'm fine with Broker's Veteran. Never excited to play it, but it slots in. Fills its job. It's a 2-mana creature you're cool with trading off with. I really like Backup Agent. This is a really consistent way to get a creature with a counter on it out on turn 2 so that your Regulator comes in on 3 and does extra damage. Plus, it's a good top deck late game because you can play it and just put a counter on one of your flyers so that +1/+1 counter can still matter, whereas a 2-mana 2/2 might not have. So I do like Backup Agent a lot to where I am going to take it over an Ominous Parcel. I'm not a big fan of the Parcel. I'm just going to end up running it if I don't have like 5 or 6 non-basic lands. Could take Witness Protection here because Cleanup Crew is going to be a little bit of a difficult splash, requiring double green. We don't need double green till turn 6, though, which is nice. But this is a nice flexible card, but kind of interested in maybe actually playing Witness Protection in this archetype with all these flyers, but I don't know. They'll go a lot later than Cleanup Crews generally, so if we really want the Witness Protections, we probably get them later. Whereas we don't really have another opportunity to pick up a Cleanup Crew if we end up playing more green than I had planned. We may just have to bite the bullet here and end up playing a full-on Brokers deck. Not really splashing any color, doing equal amounts of each. That could very much be a possibility. We actually have more green than blue at this point. Just a bit awkward. I guess I should have hopped more on the green train in hindsight. In hindsight, obviously, but I probably missed some signals that might have led me in that direction first. That being said, it's really not that hard to convert this deck to white-green at the core splashing in the blue, which is kind of wild, because the Echo Inspectors we don't need till turn 4, we don't need the blue mana, so yeah, this was actually not a hard flop at all. Just take a Metamorphosis here, probably not playing it, unless I do have blue as the core of the deck. I don't think I'm splashing this in if blue is the tertiary color, the third color in the deck. This is wild. This deck really looks like it can go either way. It could even go the full 3 color here. Another Brokers veteran. Definitely don't want a second Paragon of Modernity or a first Halo Scarab or any of that. I don't know, first Halo Scarab might be better than second Brokers veteran. I'm not that high on the card. Halo Scarab getting treasure tokens is kind of exciting. Take a Rocks Pummeler. Number 2. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I feel like we're going to be able to choose between what our 2 core colors are. Not even just during the draft, just during deck building. We're just going to have enough cards to play white-green or white-blue splash in either direction, or just play all 3 equally. Ideally, we get a lot more mana fixing if we want to play all 3 equally, though. So, the green card here is not great. It's just fine. Voice of the Vermin. The blue cards in here are excellent, which is kind of awkward because we're looking at the white-green build, but Sleep with the Fishes is phenomenal. 4 mana to lock down a creature, keep it tapped and unable to untap, and create a 1/1 unblockable fish, all off of 1 card. That is an incredible card. Hypnotic Grifter is pretty great too. Backup Agent is solid, but I think I'm going to go with Sleep with the Fishes here, and I'm just going to keep non-committally flopping back and forth between looking at our blue-white curve and our green-white curve. What do we have now? Gathering Throng. A little too late in pack 3 to jump on the Gathering Throng train, but if you have a lot of these, they get very good. 3 copies or more is where it's pretty excellent. 2 copies, it's a little rough. Obviously, 1 copy is unplayable. Obscure Initiate here would be fine. We don't have a lot of 3 mana plays. Slip Out the Back is okay. Little trick. Saves a creature from removal and gives it a +1/+1 counter. Nothing wildly exciting here. Almost all of our green cards are creatures, so our creature count dies off a lot if we go blue-white. It's actually just another blue creature seems fine to me. Whoa! 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 Pack 3, pick 3, Broker's Ascendancy it is. Come on into the deck. Wow, Brokers is so open. It's nuts. There's so many great options here. Now we have a Jewel Thief, a Spar's Adjudicators, a Mage's Attendant. Even a Rooftop Nuisance is fine, but I'm going to go with Mage's Attendant here. This card's phenomenal. Getting 2 creatures out on turn 3, a 3/2 and a 1/1, and the 1/1 has a Force Spike attached. You can sack it and counterspell unless your opponent pays 1. A non-creature spell, that is, but still. Oh my god, yeah, we're getting paid off from this direction. With all the broker stuff again, to just do whatever we want. This is insane, and Broker's Ascendancy is just one of the strongest rares in the entire format, so obviously ever getting that is nuts. I'm going to take Broker's Hideout here, want more good mana fixing. We have plenty of excellent cards to play right now. Groundbreaker or Voice of the Vermin don't make our deck all that much better. We have 4 Citizens. Yeah, but 3 to equip, +2/+1 trample isn't terrible. But I really want to make sure I have my mana fixing at the ready. That is a little rough. taking this over Groundbreaker, because Groundbreaker is good, but I think I'm still going to do that. I'm going to be diligent there and make sure I've got the fixing. Now we'll take another Echo Inspector. That's pretty beautiful. Triple Echo Inspector in the deck now. I think things did work out pretty well for the blue-white splash green, because, I mean, if you look at this, there we go. We have 4 lands. That's a 23-card deck. This is the deck of just blue-white splash green. Absolutely worked. 15 creatures, 8 non-creatures. Ideally get a little more creatures, but I'm not a huge fan of Celebrity Fencer, and I have a lot of 4-mana creatures already. I think I'd rather pick up a Metamorphosis or maybe another Parcel, but I'll go Metamorphosis here. Nice combat trick. Make something a 4/4 till end of turn and draw a card. Can really surprise your opponent if you turn your Ominous Parcel into a 4/4 blocker when you left no blockers up. That's pretty hilarious. Wow, 4th Echo Inspector. As much as I want to do that, it could be Backup Agent here, because we actually have a lot of great 4-mana stuff going on. Our 2-mana stuff, we have some filler. Halo Scarab, double Broker's Veteran. But yeah, at 4 we have triple Inspector already. I don't know, I'm going to take a 4th Inspector. In a vacuum, very early in the draft, I would always take Echo Inspector over Backup Agent. But when we're at this point, we're kind of looking for more earlier game plays. That's where it starts being actually a pretty contentious pick between the two. Triple Metamorphosis here. I can just pretend I'm a ninjutsu deck from Kamigawa. I'll just run all copies of Majestic Metamorphosis. We'll just run 4 of them for fun. Broker's Initiate isn't horrible when we have like triple Metamorphosis to use with it. Play around with it. Get some free blocks out of nowhere. Yeah, we're not going to play quadruple Metamorphosis. Maybe we'll play 1 Initiate. I don't think I'm going to play Quick Draw Dagger in a deck that has 3 Metamorphosis. I think I'd prefer to play the Metamorphosis before the Dagger in this specific deck, but the Dagger can be a very good combat trick. Wow, Adjudicators, come on in. You're going to help us mana fix for our green cards easily and be a great turn 5 play. And there's still a Rooftop Nuisance in there too. Such great stuff for brokers in this draft pod. Absolutely nuts. We could really have ended up in any combination of blue, white, and green and had a really good deck. We could have been green, white, splash blue, blue, white, splash green. We could have been blue, green if we wanted to be really weird about it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where we ended up, but I would have been super happy with the green, white Citizens deck that was available in this pod too. It's just nuts. Just absolutely nuts. Very, very happy here. Let's see what we're going to cut here, but first, let's get these Parallax Styles out of here and get some prettier lands. Okay, so we've got our lands all pretty. I've got my Parallax card styles off. Let's set aside our weakest cards individually. So Paragon of Modernity is a pretty slow flyer. It doesn't generally play that well, even if you do have the 3 colors to get those counters on it. So that's going to be at the side as potential cut. Halo Scarab is not great unless you really, really, really need treasure. Maybe you have some self-mill to work with, and maybe you have some casualty, but generally not great. Broker's Veteran, pretty similar. Just a 2/1 for 2 is pretty dang bad unless you're getting a lot of value off that shield counter or the casualty, so pretty low on that. Other than that, Skura Initiate's like a little weak for the cost, but I like having the 3 cards here, like having the flying. Everything else looks pretty great. Initiate maybe goes into the weak card pile, but I don't want to cut down on my 1 and 2 mana cards that much. Ominous Parcel could get cut here. We have how many ways to get green mana in this deck without even counting forests? We're going to have a Botanical Plaza, a Broker's Hideout, a Cabaret Courtyard. We're going to have 3 green lands immediately, and we're still going to have Spara's Adjudicators. So that's 4 ways to filter green mana, which means a minimum of 5 if I only play 1 forest. We have a minimum of 5 green sources, plus every single green card we have is impactful enough to wait until late game to play it. Adjudicators we can always cast on 5 because it's going to pay for itself, unless we top deck it without a green source on board and we have 5 mana already on board. Then we'll have to wait a turn to cast it, but we can still play it the turn after we draw it, so don't really have to worry about Adjudicators when it comes to how early we need to play it. But Soul of Emancipation we don't need to play till turn 7, so we can wait all the time in the world before we cast that. Broker's Charm is a removal spell or a draw spell, the kind of spell you're not going to play till later in the game anyway. The only card we have that is more impactful earlier in the game than it is later in the game is Broker's Ascendancy, and even that card is more impactful the more creatures you have on board, so it's kind of okay if we don't end up casting it. it till turn 6 or 7, because we might not even have too many creatures on board until then anyway. So I'm actually very cool with just Forest, Plaza, Broker's Hideout, Cabaret Courtyard as the 4 lands that give us green mana, as well as Spar's Adjudicators for the green mana. And for that reason, I think I'm pretty cool to cut Ominous Parcel. It's definitely not doing anything well in the removal front. We have double Hold for Ransom, Sleep with the Fishes, Out of the Way as temporary removal, and Triple Metamorphosis as combat trick style removal. It's not even counting Broker's Charm. Yeah, I'm going to cut the Parcel, but then look at our creature versus non-creature. 18 creatures here, we can kind of do whatever we want. 15 creatures is fine, a little low, but we could just cut 3 creatures if we want here, if our non-creatures are good enough. Triple Majestic Metamorphosis is a lot, and our other non-creature cards are all pretty much incredible. Ascendancy, Charm, Sleep with the Fishes, Out of the Way, maybe Hold for Ransom, not quite so good, but Triple Metamorphosis seems more redundant than double Hold for Ransom, so maybe cut 1 or 2 of these and 1 or 2 of these up here. I'm definitely going to cut at least 1 Metamorphosis. 2 more cards to cut, though. I do like having a 1-drop. I like Broker's Initiate here, so we can just go Plains Initiate sometimes. And I do like that it's kind of silly with the Metamorphosis, because we can just make dorky attacks with it. That'll be like, all right, I don't know what you're doing here, but whatever, I'll block. And then Metamorphosis will just be like, haha, gotcha. I don't know. 2 more cuts. I really don't love this Paragon of Modernity, but I really don't like these 2-drops either. Maybe we just play, like, cut the Paragon, cut the Halo Scarab, and I guess we play the Broker's Veterans. It's pretty awkward. You know, coming to think of it, everything that I just said about Ominous Parcel being bad here, like, I still think I'd rather have one Ominous Parcel over 2 Broker's Veterans. Cut down on the creature count a little bit here. We get a little less aggressive, but I guess it's only 16 creatures, and the more creatures, the merrier with Broker's Ascendancy. Kind of 17 creatures. Sleep with the Fishes is a creature in a way. Yeah, I mean, I could see cutting like a Broker's Veteran to put the Ominous Parcel back in. That's about the only change really I'd make here. But I think it's good the way it is. I think this can definitely be our deck list. We just need to make sure we have our mana all in order. Wait, how many lands am I playing? I might have accidentally cut a land. Yeah, I'm at 16 lands. I do want 17 lands, so we do get to cut one of these veterans for a 17th land. Because we have a 7-drop we're trying to hit. Like, let's keep 17 lands. You know, there'd even be an argument for 18, but I'm not going to go that high. All right, now let's check out our blue versus white. So we have 4 green cards, whatever. I'm keeping the 1 forest, and I'm not going to add any more. But then we have 15 blue cards, 13 white cards. So pretty close to equal on blue and white, and our only 1 mana card in the deck is a 1 white mana card. So I think I want an even split of white-blue. That seems pretty fine by me. Currently we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 potential white sources. And as for blue, we have... No, it's the wrong land. I keep getting the wrong land in the pile. Okay, blue has 6, 7, 8. So we cut 1 plains and we go down to 9 white, and then we add 1 island, we go up to 9 blue. 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Thanks to these triomes. Not triomes, but these fetch lands here. That's 9 white sources, 9 blue sources, and 1 green source. Or 1 green source, and 4 green sources. So our mana looks really good here. I'm pretty happy with this deck overall, and very excited to see how this does. So here we are with a deck overview of today's deck. We were in a draft pod where Brokers was just wide open. We pretty much like pick 1, pack 1, pick 2 to Rafine's Informant as well. Just started with a couple of those really early. We were like, all right, we're definitely in white. Kept on the white train for a while. Got some decent removal like Hold for Ransom, some backup agents. Mage's Attendance is another great white card. And yeah, Brokers was wide open, so we got some sick bombs in this deck. So the general way this deck's going to work, hopefully getting some aggressive creatures out on turn 2. We do have triple Informant, so getting a 2-mana 3/2 out can happen in this deck and can be pretty deadly. Follow it up with a nice flyer like Celestial Regulator or Obscura Initiate, and just keep the pressure on with evasive threats like Echo Inspector. If we fall behind at all, that's what all our removal is for. Sleep with the Fishes, Hold for Ransom, Broker's Charm works as removal, and Out of the Way works as a nice tempo play to bring us back into the aggressive lead. Spires Adjudicators puts a 4/4 on our board and shuts off a block for the turn. So really nice, aggressive kind of tempo-based strategy here. And if none of that pans out for us, we have some ridiculous bombs because of how open Brokers was in our pod. We got a Soul of Emancipation passed to us in pack 1 that can really end a game, as well as a Broker's Ascendancy passed to us in pack 3. Another huge card that is going to single-handedly, I guess not technically single-handedly, you have to have something on the board, some creature, but this can help make even just a board state of Broker's Veteran and Obscura Initiate. Even with just 2 mediocre creatures on board, this can start closing out the game with the amount of extra +1/+1 counters you can get off of it. So pretty great looking deck here. It has a lot going for it with the aggressive tempo curve and the late game bombs, and I'm very excited to see how this deck does as we head into game 1. Here we are, game 1. We are on the draw here. Raffine's Informant and Echo Inspector can definitely help dig us out of any flood if we draw more lands, so I'm pretty happy with the hand here, even though it is land heavy. Connive does help us get out of it. Pretty powerful mechanic in that way. Our opponent's on black-red. They start with a Tramway Station. Turn to a Swamp into a potential 2-drop. Glamorous Outlaw is going to be the play, so they are on Maestros. That Glamorous Outlaw is going to mana fix their blue, black, and red mana. So draw off our Raffine's Informant. We draw another land. So we're definitely going to discard one of these islands here, unfortunately. As much as I'd love to have a 3/2 Raffine's Informant, we can kind of build our own here with Backup Agent, and Broker's Veteran for my opponent makes me not that unhappy about not getting a counter on Informant, because if I did, it would have just traded off into a Veteran anyway. So I'll send in for 2 here and then play our own Broker's Veteran since we drew into that. Because that seems like a mighty fine trade for their Broker's Veteran if they try to attack back into us. Our opponent's stuck on 2 mana there. They did not play a 3rd land on turn 3. We'll see if they have one turn 4. Nope, but they have a Grisly Sigil, which is an incredible deal here. They get to sack their Broker's Veteran to kill both our creatures and gain 2 life. I guess I wouldn't say incredible deal. It's a 2 for 2. They trade Veteran and Sigil into Veteran and Informant. Yeah, altogether that was actually just fine. Don't have to be too unhappy about that exchange. I only need this 5th mana for the Adjudicators. I think I'm going to discard this island. Although if I discard a non-land here, I'm threatening more damage. Maybe I actually discard Backup Agent, because it's not going to matter too much being a 1/1 on the ground, and all I'm really going to do is play it and put a counter on Inspector anyway, so I might as well get that counter on it for free. That way next turn I can tap out for Adjudicators guaranteed. I just go land Adjudicators. Alright. Echo Inspector is dead, which is pretty sad here. Makes me wish we just kept the Backup Agent then, especially since we drew into a 6th land anyway. Now we get that awkward moment where we just play an Adjudicators as a 5 mana 4/4, no value from the Enter the Battlefield effect. Tavern Swindler from our opponent, that doesn't really matter, just a 2/2 on the board. They can pay life to gamble, basically pay 3 life. If they lose their coin flip, they just end up losing 3 life. If they win the coin flip, they end up getting a net gain of 3 life. Another Grisly Sigil, fine with that. They 2-for-1 themselves to kill Adjudicators. They spent their Tavern Swindler and their Grisly Sigil to kill it. Unfortunately, I may have to just draw some cards off of Broker's Charm so I actually have some kind of action here. I have Double Hold for Ransom, which can temporarily get rid of creatures anyway. So yeah, let's just draw some cards with this Charm. There's a Broker's Ascendancy. That's pretty big. Maybe we should have held on to that land. The black decks can have... Can't have Corrupt Court Officials that make me discard a card. I don't know if I just jam out Ascendancy or Initiate first. I feel like I just jam out Ascendancy this turn, because they're black-red, they're not going to have enchantment removal, and this way if I draw a creature that's better than Broker's Initiate, I can play that and have the Broker's Ascendancy on board next turn, and I was correct, I should never have played that land. Metamorphosis isn't looking like it's going to do anything here, so we could just discard that. That being said, I could draw a card and discard a card here by drawing a card off their Court Official, and then seeing if there's something better to discard here. Okay, well, at least I pulled this obscure storefront out of the way. Ooh, Forest is actually good here. It's good enough to the point where I'm going to play it, even though it might get... it might get me Corrupt Court Officialed again if they top deck another one. Oh wow, they're just over it. They're just missing way too many lands to compete against an Ascendancy, even if it is just one Initiate. Yeah, rough game for our opponent there, but that'll be 1-0 then to start it off. Pretty excellent hand here, a little bit slow, no 1 mana or 2 mana play. But we've got a lot of stuff starting on turn 3. Another land for us. We're just going to storefront immediately here, pull out of plains. So we can thin our deck out a little bit. Less likely to draw more lands at this point. We do want some more lands for Soul of Emancipation, but much more important to try to pull out that green source than to draw more plains and islands here. So get the storefront out of the way. If we draw a 2-drop now, we can play it no matter what. Never have to find another turn to play a tapped land. And somebody gave me a follow. I am recording on OBS, which is the same program that I use to live stream on the Twitch channel and the link in the description below. So you're going to hear follows every now and then if somebody just followed in the middle of a recording session. Alright. Taking this crowbar damage. Crowbar is actually really good against our deck, because it is the main deckable enchantment removal to blow up our Broker's Ascendancy if we ever draw into it. And they'll have no reason to sacrifice it if we don't play an artifact or enchantment, so we're pretty much guaranteed not to win with Broker's Ascendancy this game, but that's okay. I've got Soul of Emancipation. I've got other bombs to try to close the game out with. I think I'm just going to take this this crowbar damage here, take 2, go to 17. If they don't play another creature, I can crack back into the Bruiser, see if we can get that Defender out of the way. But this might be me being greedy, but I kind of like the curve of Attendant into Inspector and then Regulator later, once we've got a card with a counter on it, potentially. We're going to sleep our Attendant with the Fishes. That's pretty fine. That means that is not going to be here to deal with our bigger threats. And that's a really good target to blow up with our Soul of Emancipation now. Blow up our own Mage's Attendant since it can't do anything anyway. Hit a Metamorphosis. We have 7 lands already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We only need 7 for Emancipation, and we have to hit a green land. So these lands are actually redundant guaranteed, so I'm going to discard one of them. Let's go with one of the islands. We'll have 3 of each color here. This one doesn't do any blocking, but it certainly doesn't attack into a 3/3. Alright, we've got the 2/3 body to block their 2/2. Just take all this fish damage for a while. Combat trick my Echo Inspector. It's fine, they spent some mana into that instead of putting more creatures out. We get it out of the way. We've got the Soul of Emancipation hand. It's not a game we're trying to win by slowly chipping in with this flyer. We're just going to try to play a Mega Bomb and completely turn the game around with it. I'll play around the counter unless I pay 2 spell here and go for Regulator. If they want to do that, they'll have to casualty that spell. Counter unless I pay 4. Guess I could have tapped the Bruiser to attack for 1 here, but again, pretty sure I'm just holding up blockers. So we need 3 expendable non-land permanents to get the maximum value off of this. So we're going to blow up our 1/1, our 3/2 Mage's Attendant, and then maybe our Broker's Veteran if that's still around by then. Definitely going to do all the blocks we can in the meantime, though. And looks like they're going to shut off a blocker next turn with a Spar's Adjudicators of their own. 5 mana 4/4. Target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. Oh, here comes that soon enough. Maybe they have other plays this turn. Hopefully not. Swamp. It's gonna be blue-white, splashing black, splashing green, just kind of splashing for the cards that splash themselves. All these exile cards can just help cast themselves, so you can play Adjudicators in a deck that's strictly blue-white, which kind of looks like the case here. But we do see an actual swamp in their deck, so maybe they're Obscura. Just playing Adjudicators as a blue-white card. Alright. Get my my shield token here. Fine with me. Get it on the regulator, and we draw into an Echo Inspector. We need to dig for this green source, so I'm going to play that. I could play Metamorphosis as well, but that digs me just as far, and this is going to dig me while putting another creature on board, which is definitely better. There's the Broker's Hideout. That's what we needed. I'm going to discard this Metamorphosis then. Because we found the land we get the forest now, and then next turn we just play in Soul of Emancipation. We're not going to play any Metamorphosis in the meantime. So pretty much just need to not die this turn and then have an opponent just not have removal. Or not have a counterspell. Even if they have removal, Soul of Emancipation is going to flip things in our favor, I think. Let's just not take too much damage here. And then no counterspell from opponent. Fingers crossed. Oh no, they're going to exile Regulator. They're going to hold for ransom on it. Okay. Sure. Wish I could destroy the same thing multiple times. Because now I would just double destroy Regulator and then destroy Attendant. As the plan. So we're going to blow up the Attendant, we're going to blow up the Regulator, we're going to blow up the 1/1. I think that's our plan here. Alright, they're just going to attack with the... I was going to say, if they attacked with Adjudicators, I would probably actually go for the double block there, because they're going to choose to kill Echo Inspector. So we're going to kill the Adjudicators and still have the 3 cards we want to blow up our Soul of Emancipation. Or the 3 cards we need to blow up with our Soul of Emancipation. Alright, Crowbar on the Adjudicators. Getting Adjudicators of our own that can shut off that fish for a turn in the future, but for now, there's the Soul. They only have 1 mana up, which means no counterspell, which means this is going to be huge. Absolute swing in the game. Absolute flip-flop of the board state. Soul of Emancipation. A ridiculous card. We'll see if our opponent can find a way to come back from that, but it's looking pretty good for us. They're threatening us with 2 unblockable damage per turn, but we can definitely outrace that with flyers, especially with the backup Adjudicators in our hand to slow them down. Alright, just attacking for 1 with the fish, not moving the Crowbar around, so that means they're holding up their mana to use on other spells here. Or moving the Crowbar elsewhere. Maybe they want to crack the Skybridge Towers to draw a card. It's going to cost them 4 mana and tap the towers to do that. Really eyeballing the heck out of all their creatures. Maybe some kind of pump spell or something weird. Oh, dig up the body that they'd have to sacrifice a creature to use. They're going to pick up 2 creatures from their graveyard back to their hand. We're also milling 4 here to find the creatures to pick up, so Backup Agent or Backstreet Bruiser is the first one. So far, it does not seem very high impact. They need to mill something good for this to really change the result of the game. They milled something good, but it's not a creature. They milled their own Broker's Ascendancy. So this is just like blue-white splash, splash like a Broker's Rare, probably splash an Obscura Rare. Yeah, just a Backstreet Bruiser. And the Backup Agent. They can make the fish hit for more damage here, but they're not going to outrace all these flyers. We're going to kill them in 2 swings in the sky, since they didn't draw any more flying. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Could have saved the regulator, but I'd rather play adjudicators and informant here, so that I have plenty of blockers up. Because I'm going to kill them in 2 hits in the sky, whether or not I hit them with regulator as well. So that feels unnecessary. And then here's Rafine's informant, mill 1. We'll see if we get the +1/+1 counter milling one. We do. Good luck on the informant there. Alright, they're digging for a 2-mana out to this game, sacking Skybridge Towers. I guess a 3-mana card would work. They haven't played a land this turn yet. There's a forest. Broker's Ascendancy, copy number 2. That actually doesn't save them, but it is funny if they have one. Just gonna blow up their own hold for ransom just for giggles here. And that's gonna be the game. Soul of Emancipation, the incredible bomb rare. Our pack 1 pick 2 going to absolutely flip that game around. It was particularly good in that matchup as well, because our opponent, being brokers, had all the enchantment removal that left our creatures on board, so that we could just target our creature that's already essentially dead, and just get a 3/3 angel for free. So that was an excellent showing from Soul of Emancipation. That'll be 2-0 now, heading into Game 3. Alright, here we are now, Game 3. Opponent's going to be on the play here. We've got an Initiate, Backup Agent, Metamorphosis. We've got our green source. Going to be a keep here. This hand has the opposite issue of our first ones. We need to hit some late game plays, but shouldn't be a huge problem. Got the Echo Inspector to help dig us that way. Gala Greeters from our opponent turn 1. That is a scary card. Every time they play a creature, they're getting some good value. You get a treasure, a couple life, or a +1/+1 counter. Very nice turn 1 play. That is pretty concerning. Backup Agent doesn't do a boatload here, but make sure we block the Gala Greeters. I mean, we already block it with Initiate. Just make a 1/5 Initiate here, because it's funny. Just send in 1 damage. I guess if they want to just put +1/+1 counters on their Gala Greeters, it's actually fine, because then they're not ramping up like crazy with all these treasure tokens. Oh, no turn 3 play. They kept a bit of a risky keep with the Gala Greeters there. We'll just hold up our Metamorphosis here. Probably go for Informant if we don't need it. It's unlikely we do, because if they offer a trade here, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to use any trick to swap it around, so we'll go Informant now. Soul of Emancipation. Well, goodbye, Island. Next turn, we're going to pull out the green source and hold up Metamorphosis. Means we're not playing Inspector, but get us all set up for Soul of Emancipation in the late game. It's pretty huge. Cabaret Courtyard from our opponent's going to grab them a Plains. And they have no play this turn. Well, we did hit the Island now. If I play Echo Inspector, I have to discard this Metamorphosis or whatever I draw, but that's fine. I don't have a turn 5 play, so I can instead play the Inspector this turn and the Courtyard next. Cut our opponent down to 14. Here's the Echo Inspector. Disdainful Stroke. Well, Soul of Emancipation's got free reign now. Most likely. Don't expect double Disdainful Stroke here. Although I suppose it's a possibility. Celestial Regulator. They can stack these to where Gala Greeters gets its +1/+1 counter and then Regulator taps. Yeah, so it'll keep it locked down. It's pretty annoying. Not that Initiate was really going to attack through those anyway. Ooh, out of the way. That's 2 mana to cast it on their Gala Greeters. Can't hold up Metamorphosis and out of the way, but it's still pretty cool. I'll attack Informants here, because if they block with Greeters, we let it happen. If they block with Regulator, we'll Metamorphosis. Another land is actually pretty good here with the 7-drop in hand. And now we will pull out the green source with the courtyard. Pretty spicy stuff here. Don't really have to worry about our opponent making us discard any cards here. They're not in black, so unless they have mana up when we cast Soul of Emancipation, pretty confident we're going to be able to get this down in the late game. And there we go, that's the final land we needed. We get to drop the Soul of Emancipation next turn. I can buff Initiate if they block it with Greeters. This does let them do their trick now because they know our mana's all soaked up. Don't think I really am going to need to bounce anything with Out of the Way. Run out of town. Put on top. I only have 2 cards to blow up with my Soul of Emancipation, which is a little rough, but we'll definitely just play it. I mean, at this point, I actually think Broker's Initiate's a fine play the turn after we play Soul of Emancipation. Because we're at that point in the game where we have so much mana that any turn we're not casting a spell, we just get to treat this as a 5/5. I think it's actually an okay redraw. Be fine to put it on bottom as well. They kept all of their mana up. Yeah, I'm not going to run Soul of Emancipation into all that open mana here. We're just going to send an Informant and play Initiate then. If they just keep holding up all their mana and not playing anything, then we'll just slowly win the game with the creatures we currently have. So I'm not under any pressure to drop this Soul of Emancipation before it's perfectly safe to do so. Prize fight. Counter them from getting the treasure by bouncing that thing. I'm not that worried about backup agent dying, I just don't want them to get the treasure. It's pretty necessary for them currently, and now they'll have to recast that as well. Oh, they do still get the treasure. That's so weird. Usually... Alright, that's fine. I guess they get the treasure. Cleanup crew is the play, okay. Can't get through a 6/6 with any of this stuff. But now they're tapped out, so we'll just turn everything into a 3/3 flyer, which can definitely get through. Anyways, it's kind of weird that that's how that works, that they still get the treasure, because I'm so used to so many spells that just like the rest of the spell doesn't resolve if it no longer has a legal target. I guess because it's fighting, it still has one legal target. Because I still control my creature, so it still had a legal target, so it still resolves. That's so weird. Alright, we kill them in 2 swings in the sky. Just like last game. Obscure Storefront. Blue-white fetch land. Could grab a black source as well. They are pulling out that black source. The 4th color splashed in. It is coming into play tapped. We have 9 flying damage on the board. They can use Ballroom Brawlers to get a lifelink attack out with the cleanup crew. And then they'll be at 12 if they do that. We're threatening 9 in the sky. We'll have to Metamorphosis to kill them next turn. In the sky, that is. They would have to attack with Ballroom Brawlers and the cleanup crew. So they'd have no blockers on the ground, so we'd still just kill them on the ground if they do that. But it would put them up to 12. And they'd still have 5 mana up to play more blockers, so it's probably like the only shot they've got here. They're going to run out of town the Soul of Emancipation. That's fine. I can get more flyers, I guess. I mean, yeah, that's all they've got, so they might as well. Give them both a lifelink here. Oh, they actually go higher than 12. They go to 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, we just Metamorphosis for lethal on the crackback. rather than recasting that. Alright. Another ridiculous showing from Soul of Emancipation, being absolutely deadly, and now we are 3-0, guaranteeing we are at least getting a better record than last time, and at least a solid 50-50 run for draft number 2. Here we are now in game 4 with a very good hand, slightly high on mana, but that is super okay with 2 cards in our hand that can connive for us. And we have all 3 of our colors thanks to Spara's Adjudicators. Very happy with this as an opening hand. I believe our opponent is on the play here, so we will be on the defensive, on the back foot here if they can curve out. But they have mulliganed down to 6, so we will have the card advantage. Cabaret Courtyard starts things off, pulling out a red, green, or white source. Plains it is. Well, now our mana is completely unstoppable. Botanical Plaza turn 1. So we can even just slam down the Adjudicators without ever exiling it and revealing it. So here's the Rafine's Informant. Draw a card, discard a card. We've got 5 mana in hand. I only need 4 to get to the Inspectors, which help dig for the 5th land for Adjudicators. So I'm going to discard the 5th land currently in hand, because if we don't draw a 6th land, then we can just dig for it with these Inspectors. There's a high-rise Sawjack, actually really annoying against our deck, enough so that I'm just going to hold it for ransom. We've got double Inspector coming up, so we'll get that reach blocker out of the way until turn 7, when they can afford to pay for the ransom. Sacrifice this pacifism and let me draw a card. Exhibition Magician's the next play, probably spinning out a 1/1, because that will hold off my Rafine's Informant all day long. So here's Echo Inspector number 1, picks up another Informant, pretty happy with that. We've got 5 mana here, we don't need more. There's only 1 card in our deck that costs more than 5. So we're just going to discard every land that we hit off these connive cards, unless we draw into a Soul of Emancipation. Cabaret Charm is going to blow up our Echo Inspector, and they'll send in the 1/1 on the ground. We're down to 19. There's the 5th mana. I just make the most of my mana here, drop our 5-drop. Even though we're not getting an evasive card out, it's going to let us hit them with Informant this turn, as well as now we just have a 4/4 to start swinging with if they don't play some pretty good blockers here. Pugnacious Pugilist is a pretty good blocker, but it's an even better attacker, so now I'm just going to hold my Adjudicators back to block their Pugilist. Actually, out of the way here is a really nice draw. It's very tempting to just slam that down on Pugilist and attack in with my 4/4. I think that's actually pretty alright by me. I can Informant first and see if we draw on anything else that might be interesting. Just another land, that's certainly not. So we either Echo Inspector here, or we just bounce this Pugilist to get extra damage in. I guess if they just attack with Pugilist, we just block with it. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna out of the way. I still feel like I like that. Wow, Broker's Ascendancy is a huge draw. It's going to be incredible next turn. Especially if we like top deck a forest, that'd be absolutely nuts. So we could be able to afford the Ascendancy and the Echo Inspector all in one turn. So Witty Roastmaster is the play rather than playing the Pugilist, so that they can play that and Riveteer's Initiate. Just trying to slam a bunch of creatures on the board quickly. There's a Celestial Regulator, which is another really good draw. We're not going to tap something down permanently, but I'm still going to play it out so we have more creatures getting counters. And now Broker's Ascendancy should just take over this game. It's going to keep buffing all our blockers, and we can just keep sending in with these flyers every turn, as we have just massive, massive blockers on the board. And eventually we can just attack with everybody. Find lethal. Menace on their Death Toucher is actually pretty scary. To the point I'm actually going to hold up Broker's Charm. Maybe. No, it's fine if they hit us for 2. I'll play the Echo Inspector, probably discarding whatever we draw here rather than Broker's Charm. Yeah, sorry, additional Inspector. You're not needed whereas Broker's Charm is a really nice safety valve. Cabaretti Charm, get rid of our newest Echo Inspector. Get in that 2 menace damage. But looks like this is just going to be Broker's Ascendancy's game here. Card is absolutely ridiculous. Now I can cast Initiate, still hold up Charm. Easily the play. Next turn we have Lethal on board. In the sky. We have all the blockers in the world on the ground, as well as a removal spell, if necessary. Which I guess if they just freeze the high-rise Sawjack, that might be necessary to guarantee lethal next turn. But yeah, Broker's Ascendancy just making that game incredibly lopsided, and that's going to be 4-0 now from this excellent Broker's deck. Here we are now, game 5. Pretty good hand here. Turn 2 Informant, turn 4 Echo Inspector, some interaction with Hold for Ransom and Metamorphosis in betwixt there. We are on the draw though, so we don't get to be as aggressive as we'd want, but that's fine. Okay, draw into a Broker's Veteran. Could be my turn 3 play. I don't love it, but it's probably better than a land. Otherwise, next turn I'm just holding up Metamorphosis. I'm not doing too much. I guess if I discarded, I hit them for 5 with Metamorphosis, which is kind of hilarious, but pretty unnecessary. Probably rather just have more creatures around than one big damage swing. Especially since our opponent's on Riveteers here, they can have a lot of cheap removal that would just blow up our Informant this turn anyway. And if they do blow up at our Informant, then Metamorphosis would do nothing next turn. We'd have no play lined up for turn 3. It's like if they try to strangle our Informant or something, which they might have done if it was a 3-2. Just blitz out the Jockey, alright. 3 mana, deal 3 damage to target player, draw a card. Fine deal. Not unhappy with that. Something both players can be pretty chill with. Well, now I drew a 3-drop and I'm just gonna play it. Get a flyer on this board. So that's a little awkward. I would have preferred to have discarded this veteran because now this veteran's really not gonna line up with our plays for quite some time. There's no way we're playing it over an Echo Inspector on turn 4. After that, it might be time to actually hold for ransom some stuff. I guess maybe turn 5 we get to play Hold for Ransom plus Veteran. That could be an opportunity for it. No plays from our opponent that turn. Oh, I'm tempted to Mage's Attendant now instead of Echo Inspector. Because we get that little token that can counter a non-creature spell if they're trying to cast a good non-creature spell anytime soon. I suppose it's not super likely though. We'll just Echo Inspector and this time we'll discard the Veteran. Or the Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis still isn't fitting in well either. Wow, Soul of Emancipation coming up. I'm going to Mage's Attendant next turn. If I hit a land, it would be kind of okay to Mage's Attendant plus Broker's Veteran, but I like that Metamorphosis cycles into potentially digging for another land. Might be weird, but I'm just going to get rid of Broker's Veteran. Tired of looking at his stinky face as I look at him in my graveyard. Yeah, I like the cantrip to just draw an extra card at some point here. Digs for those lands that we need for Emancipation. See, our opponent's just full-on Riveteers. No major plays till turn 5 here. Kind of a slow Riveteers deck, but we'll see what's coming up. That could just mean a handful of absolute bombs. Could also mean a handful of lands. So really no telling how this is going to go, but I'm happy with the current state of things. We're at 17, they're at 15. We've got 3 creatures on board. They've got nothing. Bunch of cards in hand, but only one more card in hand than us, so it's not like they have a massive card advantage here or anything. Things are pretty okay. Yeah, Pugilist, sure, I'll take one. You can have a Devil. Kill my Informant with Devil. It's going to happen at some point anyway. I hit them for 7 on the crackback, though, if I just don't block this Devil, so I guess I just won't. This could be bad if they have a Sorcery Speed Casualty card, if they're going to sacrifice that Devil for a Grizzly Sigil or something. But that looks like a no to me. Alright. Now I can Mage's Attendant and hold up the 1 mana to potentially tax them on their next non-creature spell. Tax them an extra mana. If they attack with a Devil now, I'll probably block with Mage's Attendant, let Rafine's Informant die. Although we're at 12. It's doing 1 damage. Doubt they attack with it. They're probably just going to try to casualty it, sacrifice it to get some other effect, and kill Informant at the same time. Weird game here. Our opponent's at 8. Got a lot of creatures on board. They have a boatload of cards in hand, though. A full grip of 7. Whatever colors they need in their Riveteers deck. They have 2 green sources, 2 red sources, 2 black sources, at least. Really, the world's their oyster, so I don't know what's coming up here. If they're going to try to cast a Vivian, that would be hilarious, because Vivian is a 6-mana planeswalker, so that would be pretty sad if that was their big win condition they were trying to lead into here. Rafine's Silencer is the play. That is pretty good here. It's on the ground, though, so we can still Metamorphosis to threaten for lethal. If our opponent taps out here, I am going to go for Metamorphosis. Yeah. Unfortunate for our opponent, because now I have 0 risk involved in my line for going for lethal. We can just Metamorphosis to turn something into a 4/4 flyer, attack with it alongside our other flyers, and that'll be game. That'll just be game. Yep, they scoop them up. It's going to be 5-0 now from this Broker's deck. Here we are now in game 6. We are currently undefeated with this pretty sick Broker's deck. It's kind of a blue-white Flyers as the main, with the green as the splash. This is an awkward hand, but we're on the play, so I think we can make up for that by not having to worry too much about being massively under pressure. If we were on the draw here, I might mulligan this because of the no early game plays, because then an aggressive loadout like whatever our opponent's doing here could punish us pretty hard, but not that worried about turn 1 Goldhound when we are on the play. And luckily, this out of the way is going to work really nicely for us to slow our opponent down now. And that's probably just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use it immediately here. Draw another card, get another shot at getting a 2 or 3 mana play to play next turn. 4 Echo Inspectors it is. I could cycle a Metamorphosis next turn, but I think I'd rather drop the Courtyard, thin the deck out a little, gain a life here, rather than just buff my opponent's creature with Metamorphosis in the end step. Because all that's going to do is really just... It's going to draw us another card, which could be important if we didn't have a play next turn, but we have 3 Echo Inspectors, so we know exactly what we're doing the next 3 turns after this. We don't need that card draw right now. Unless it was like a free draw card, I would happily do it then, but we needed something for 2 or 3 mana, not another 4 mana thing. Alright, now we have an Adjudicators for turn 5 here. Pretty happy with that. Obscura Storefront comes to play tapped land. Yeah, get out of here. We're going to play the untapped land and play Adjudicators next turn, get a nice big blocker on the ground, slow our opponent down, shutting off one of their attackers as well. Pretty sure we kind of slam dunk win the long game here, where I'm kind of cool with a trade down into Roastmaster. Actually be even happier if I trade with a Trick than if I trade with the Roastmaster. Yeah, that's fine. Glittermonger is the play. Alright, and things are now looking a lot nice and slow. Just a 1/1 and a 1/4 over there. And we drew a 1 mana play, which is perfect. Now I could play Echo Inspector, probably discard Metamorphosis, and still play Initiate here. And then I'm still walking on the ground. Alright, if I hit a land, I'll discard the land instead. But yeah, now I'm still playing a really nice blocker on the ground, and we can just start chipping in the sky. Pretty happy here. We are very stable. If we ever run out of stuff to do, we even have a land we get to sacrifice to draw a card. So Glittermonger's going to go ahead and get a treasure, so I'm guessing some kind of off-color bomb would explain why they went for Glittermonger here. Or just like a 5-mana powerful play. Zeatora it is, some kind of off-color bomb, and now we might just lose to Zeatora. There's not much I can do to that. 6/6 flyer. During their end step, they may sack another creature to deal damage to its power to any target. Get 3 treasures. So they can play a relatively big creature next turn, kill Echo Inspector or something. We have no possible way to kill Zeatora. We can shut her off for 1 turn. Do we have any removal in our deck? We have like a tiny bit. Soul of Emancipation, Baroker's Charm. Double Hold for Ransom, but she still gets to use her ability through a Hold for Ransom. And I really do not like this at all. But I think I just Adjudicator Zeatora for a turn. At least I don't take 6 next turn. So actually, this has turned into a rough one. That's a Mega Bomb for sure. That is a Mega Bomb. How the tables have turned. Now we are on the receiving end of a Soul of Emancipation, Broker's Ascendancy style bomb. Mr. Orfeo. It's pretty scary as well. Mage's Attendant is the draw. No way to get a card with a counter on it on board to get Celestial Regulator to actually lock down Zeatora here. Zeatora attacks for 12 with Mr. Orfeo on board because Orfeo doubles Zeatora's power. And we're just straight out of it. I guess I could Metamorphosis out of nowhere is my whole plan. Metamorphosis Adjudicators and double block Zeatora is the best I have. Or I guess we could Metamorphosis Initiate because either turns into a 4/4 flyer. But I don't have the mana to do that and anything else this turn. Alright. Our plan completely crumbles to an instant speed combat trick or instant speed removal, but it's the best we've got here. It's the best chance we have. Our alternative is to just keep playing and chump blocking with Echo Inspectors. Just not exactly a winning line. Moment of truth. Does our stuff resolve? Do they have the instant speed removal? Or do they have the combat trick? Even Broker's Ascendancy isn't going to get us out of this if they have the combat trick. Oh my god, they don't have the combat trick. Now we actually have a solid chance, especially if I hit a land. Then I can play Mage's Attendant into Broker's Ascendancy. Have a pretty ridiculous board. Unless they have Graveyard Recursion. If Zeatora comes back, that will be bad. They are Riveteers here, so they could have black Graveyard Recursion. Jetmir's Fixer, Fatal Grudge. There goes Adjudicators, and they will draw a card. A good deal there. Well, Broker's Veteran is actually... No, that's horrible. Oh, I was going to say that's actually a pretty good draw because I get to play Ascendancy and a creature this turn. No, I don't get to do that because I only have 1 blue source. I get to Mage's Attendant and Broker's Veteran here, so my board is as wide as possible for playing Ascendancy next turn, so that I'm not playing Ascendancy on an empty board. And I suppose if they do attack with like a big Orfeo, we can just take it. If they somehow buff it a ton, we can chump with Broker's Veteran, get a shield counter somewhere. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. The Zeatora's gone. We're not under that much pressure on board. We can take the Orfeo damage this turn. Let's just get a bunch of creatures on board, then drop our Ascendancy. They have the Fatal Grudge copy number 2. That'd be pretty disastrous. It would be pretty disastrous. Take 7 here. I take 7 here, or I run into another Fatal Grudge really hard, because they would tap Glittermonger, play the 2 mana for Fatal Grudge, sacrifice Mage's Attendant, and make me sacrifice my final creature that I just put a shield counter on. Like, it would just be brutal if I chump block here and they Fatal Grudge. So I'm going to go down to 12, I guess. It's not that low. Alright, they didn't have a Fatal Grudge, they just want to hit me a bit. That is a-okay. And now we just Ascendancy and pass. And start playing a bunch of flyers, especially Celestial Regulator. That's going to be a great one next turn. Alright, the Ascendancy game plan is down. More glitter, more gold. This is the fight spell here. Looking at our Orfeo, looking at their Orfeo and our smallest creature. Dusk Mangler, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's... No, it's not the end of the world. We could get a shield counter here, actually. We have to discard a card, though. That's kind of rough. I'll discard Initiate. Might have been wrong, because Lifelink is valuable, but Regulator's ability is incredibly valuable, and Echo Inspector still feels like a pretty good ability. So, I don't know, I feel like I discard Initiate there. Alright, massively happy with my choice of shield counter here, because now we just trade a shield counter into Orfeo. Slam dunk. Now we have the mana to do one of these two. We can't do both of them. I like Regulator, tap down the Mangler, then we get to hit them this turn. Going to hold on to this land in case of Corrupt Court Official, maybe? I don't know, black seems like the splash. They could just have weird draws here. They're definitely the kind of deck that could be playing Corrupt Court Officials. They work well with Fatal Grudge. Yeah, I'll hold on to this. This could be wrong, though, because I could end up playing this land and then next turn... I guess there's not... I can't think of something that would make me want to play two lands in one turn, but I could end up hitting my 7-drop sometime soon and have missed a land drop for it. Urabrask is absolutely insane. Here, we go to 4 life now. Or a chump block with Regulator. That's terrifying. Hold for ransom off the top? Okay. Sure. Dusk Mangler is bigger than Urabrask, so we'll put it on the Mangler. Hit it for 11 this turn, so I could have shut off Glittermonger to guarantee 11 damage, but doesn't seem like the thing. Alright, we're going to mill one with Echo Inspector and make sure we've got blockers galore. We've milled an island. Okay, so we attack for 5, that puts them to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then they're dead in the sky next turn. If we don't lose any flyers. Yep. I'm at 4 life here. I need to make sure I block this Urabrask. So this way they have to chump with Glittermonger, or they're in reach of dying to flyers next turn. Swamp is their exile, and they draw a card for turn, so they are drawing 2 per turn as long as Urabrask is on board. Are they going to let Dusk Mangler free here? If they do, they can't do anything else. That costs all 7 of their mana. So if they do that, we know we get to do our blocks on board. Oh my god, Masked Bandits. 5/5 Vigilance Menace, pretty scary. Pretty scary. We exile a Rafine's Informant. We're going to have to just dump that out then. That's another blocker. Mill our Broker's Hideout. I think I again attack with the Mage's Attendant here. It's going to trade into Masked Bandits, or again, put them to dead to flyers. We need to have 3 blockers out or we'll die, so if they play 2 removal spells, we lose. So if they go draw, if they have a removal spell in hand and they draw another here, we die. Pretty rough, but I don't think we have anything better to do. If they spend all their mana into freeing Mangler, we have the blockers to block everything. We go block with a 5/6, block with a 4/5, and then double block there. Yeah, I think it's just Mage's Attendant here. And we are going to trade off into Masked Bandits. That makes it less likely they have some random trick to kill us this next turn. But then again, it's going to make it so we need to kill them in 2 turns, which gives them 2 more opportunities to draw 2 cards per turn. This has been a wild game. Oh, Forge Boss is horrifying. The beginning of their end step, if they sacrifice, or not beginning of their end step, it's just whenever they sack 1 or more creatures, they deal 2 damage to us. So if they get any sacrifice, it's going to be huge. Oh, Broker's Charm is great. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's not lethal, but we get to kill Urabrask or Forge Boss here. Or I get to draw 2. I think I kill Urabrask. It gives them less opportunities to draw an out here. This Forge Boss can only deal 2 damage to us per turn. Wait, this is lethal on board if they have nothing. 10 in the sky, 3 damage on the ground. Play around them having something. If they have something, we just die, because Dusk Mangler frees itself. But they didn't do anything in response to Broker's Charm. I don't think they have anything. I'm going for it. I'm going for it. They block the 5/5, take 13. Unless last card in hand is instant speed removal in case I just... In that case, I just die? Okay. I probably shouldn't have gone for it. That was really bold. Because, yeah, then we just, like, die to murder. But, it's one of those arena game kind of things where the moment I put Broker's Charm on the stack, it immediately resolved. Arena didn't wait a single second for our opponent there, so it was kind of like a cheesy arena thing where I'm pretty sure because of how monumentally fast that resolved, they didn't have a murder. But even if it were a paper thing, if that were a paper game of Magic and I went for the Broker's Charm and they didn't murder in response to Broker's Charm, I guess that is massively unlikely to be instant speed interaction from my opponent. Because if they had instant speed removal, they would have done it when I cast Broker's Charm. Unless they were like absolute next level playing me, where they were like, well, I could murder their creature before Broker's Charm resolves to save my creature. But if I don't do that, then they'll assume I have no removal, they'll go all attack for lethal, and then I'll win on the crackback. That would be a wild next level play, but almost 100% certainty if they didn't just instant speed removal what we used Broker's Charm with, that they didn't have anything. So I guess that was a reasonable attack there. It just feels scary, feels horrifying. Everything was spooky that game all over, but that's going to be 6-0 now for our Broker's deck as we head into what may be the final boss if we get a 7-win, 0-loss, undefeated run here. We'll see. No pressure, but I'll do my best. Here we are now on the play in what could be the final round. Very, very bad mana in hand here. We don't have a single blue card, but we have double blue. We've got 4 white cards and no planes. We've got our splash color ready, but the one splash card we have is 7 mana. This is going to have to be a mulligan in my opinion. This is much better. We probably have to ditch our Soul of Emancipation, unfortunately. Although, I could ditch the Broker's Veteran. I've been relatively unhappy with that guy anyway. Probably going to get connived away, and then I still have the opportunity of conniving away the Soul of Emancipation if it looks like I'm never going to get there. This is almost definitely wrong, but I'm tempted. Well, we've got a lot of shuffle. We have a lot of shuffle in this deck. We'll get rid of Soul Emancipation. We have a lot of lands that tutor for another land and shuffle our library in the process. So let's not keep Soul of Emancipation in hand, because we're probably going to get in a position where we will be forced to connive that away. And I'm much less happy putting that in my discard pile than I am putting, like, Broker's Veteran in discard. Which I think I will do here, because now I have another 2-drop their Fiend's Informant. We've got a potential Broker's Ascendancy coming up, if we can hit our splash color. There's a Courier's Briefcase, turn 2. Loved that card early in the format. Still think it's pretty fun, but not as good as I thought it would be. Because it reminds me of, like, Path to the World Tree from Call Time, just nowhere near as good. Glittermonger is the play. Opponent has whatever treasures they need, but we've got that green source for Broker's Ascendancy. Not really getting in any more attacks, though. I accidentally minimized Arena, so sorry about the slow turn here. Because this was just a predetermined, you just grab the Forest Pass. We're not getting through a 1-4. This could actually be a rough matchup for Ascendancy. This is one of the few matchups they might actually be able to blow it up. They could have Citizen's Crowbar. They could have other main deckable artifact and enchantment removal. But again, as we've seen before, if they don't blow up Ascendancy, it will win the game real quick. So I think I'm just going to play it right now. Just dump that thing out. Watch as they Glittermonger for a treasure and then play the 2-mana counterspell. Make disappear? Okay, no. It resolves. We will at least get counters on these informants. Bare minimum, even if they have their own Broker's Charm or Citizen's Crowbar or something like that. At least get 2 +1/+1 counters out of the card. And I feel like I'm under really not much pressure here to play particularly quickly, which is why I'm fine just not playing the flyer. Just setting up the Ascendancy as soon as possible. Get that on the board before we start dumping. So we keep getting counters every turn. Not really trying to outrace the opponent here, more trying to outclass the opponent in terms of individual card power level. Because our deck is just nuts. Brokers was just so open this pod. Ceremonial Groundbreaker is actually pretty good here. Because they can make that Citizen big enough that it matters to where I do want to block it, and it's big enough that I'd have to lose a creature if I do block it. That being said, I'm just going to take the 3 here and go to 18 for now, but Groundbreaker is solid. Alright, Majestic Metamorphosis is the draw. I like getting multiple creatures out while we have a Broker's Charm, so I'm going to Mage's Attendant here. Make sure getting as many +1/+1 counters as possible. We'll get 4 counters next turn, 1 on everybody. I'm not going to attack in here. Informant trades there. This Informant gets double blocked and trades with only 1 of the creatures. So just playing it nice and slow here. Trying to overwhelm our opponent with just the snowballing power level that we get with Ascendancy. Snowball a ridiculous amount of power on board. Playing this slowly only really plays poorly for us if our opponent has like a Wrath. So otherwise, even if they end up blowing Ascendancy some later turn, still make sure our board state is bigger than theirs and we can block everything they have all day long. We just start playing our flyers after that. If Ascendancy gets blown up, just leave all these sturdy early game creatures. There's a flyer of their own, Angelic Observer, and Rumor Gatherer popped off here, got to draw a card for them. Spicy. We have 5 mana here. That's enough to still only cast 1 spell. Play Echo Inspector here so now I can block their flyer and still not take any damage. Hold for Ransom. Don't love Metamorphosis here. We'll just make Inspector very big. Keep playing lands. Pretty close to where I want to attack with Informant, but right now I think it still trades for 1 creature. Because they can block it with a 2/3 and a 3/3, and we'd only kill 1 of those. Yep. As soon as it has 6 power, though, I think it has free reign to just fly around willy-nilly. Because, yeah, then they can block with, like, Observer and Glittermonger, but that's only 4 power, even though it is 7 toughness. So whatever they block, they make, we kill at least 2 creatures with Informant next turn. Our leftmost Informant, our 6/5 Informant. Caldia's Strongarm probably doesn't matter. I guess it makes the Observer big. Take a hit in the sky. then I can hold it for ransom and still hold up Broker's Charm. And if we hold the flyer for ransom, we're free to attack him with Echo Inspector because High-Rise Sawjack only blocks as a 4-3 against a flyer, and our flyer's already a 4-5. Flyer's already big enough to attack in a high-rise. I guess if they move the Groundbreaker around, that won't work for us. They do not move the Groundbreaker around, though. So now we pacify the flyer and hold up Broker's Charm. Kill shot. Cannot counter that with a Broker's Charm, I should say. I can counter that with Wizard, but then they tap Glittermonger. So that's not worth it. Oh, you know what's kind of spicy? This is probably not right, but this is kind of spicy. Shoot Glittermonger. They tap it in response. In response to them tapping, I counter their kill shot. This is probably, again, it's probably not worth it, but I can't resist. Now we kill the Glittermonger and counter the kill shot. They actually have the 7 mana to free their Angelic Observer. That was, that could have got me killed here, because we're at 13. Means we can die here. That was, yeah, that was overly, that was overly fancy. I should not have done that. Should have just held on to Broker's Charm and played it safe here. Because, yeah, now they could free Observe this turn, hit us for 5, put us down to 8. And, like, if they didn't go for any blocks that turn, I'd actually have to be worried about how much other damage they're getting in. I mean, that play wasn't, like, dramatically horrible. Because we get to leave our Echo Inspector on board this way, but I don't think it was the right play. I think it was probably just worse than holding on to our Broker's Charm. Regulator off the top is huge. Huge. Now even if they free the Angelic Observer, we've got a Regulator to block with. Rumor Gatherer is forced to trump here, so I think we can attack with everybody on the ground. Oh, another kill shot. Well, so be it then. I guess they don't have to chump block here. They could go to 1 life, but yeah. I'd say they probably chump block. They're down to 7 now. Land for turn. Free the Angelic Observer. We get to draw a card now. Secure a storefront, not bad. At least that land will gain us a life. Just have to hold it for a blocker. Play a Broker's Initiate as well. Attack with 3 creatures, we've got lethal, so they're just basically scooping here. That is game. That is going to be 7-0 from this absolutely ridiculous deck. Huge bombs in this deck, and a great aggressive curve with the Flyers. We won, I think, at least 2 games where we didn't cast Soul of Emancipation or Broker's Ascendancy, but the majority of our games were winning off the back of some absolutely ridiculous bombs that got passed to us, so a really lucky draft pod, but really good deck nonetheless. Huge overperformers are Rafine's Informant. Those were always phenomenal. Backup Agent wasn't that great in this deck, but yeah, the Informants were phenomenal. The Echo Inspectors were great. Mage's Attendant was super good as well. The biggest underperformers in this deck were probably Majestic Metamorphosis, actually. I found us discarding those quite often, although there was one game I don't think we would have won if we didn't have a Metamorphosis, and that was the game where our opponent played Zayatora on us. We really had to find any way to deal with that, even if it involved the risk of getting blown out by instant speed removal like the play that we ended up with. So there was that one game that was really important, but pretty much every other game was kind of whatever, actually. This is one of the weakest times I've ever seen Majestic Metamorphosis be. Usually it wasn't doing all that much for us. Obscura Initiate was also a little slow. That was one of our weaker cards. Broker's Initiate was definitely very slow. One of our weakest cards. And Broker's Veteran as well. I was just constantly discarding. But most of these aren't because they're underperformers. I kind of knew from the get-go that Initiate and Veteran were pretty filler, and the Obscura Initiate wasn't the greatest for its mana cost. It just gave us another flyer, so I already know these wouldn't be some of the best cards in our deck, so I wouldn't really call those underperformers. But Metamorphosis, though, probably valuing it a bit high because of like Suit Up and stuff like that being so good back in Kamigawa. This is definitely, I don't know, it just feels like it fits in a little less well, especially in this deck, because we have so much like good like straight up removal and stuff. Don't really need the combat tricky stuff. So Metamorphosis is kind of the big underperformer here, but it's a 7-0 run. So really, how badly did it actually do? Not that horribly. So nice 7-0 run for our second draft of Premier. For our second Premier draft of Streets of New Capenna. During this return trip, we have Streets of New Capenna Premier Drafts on for 3 more days, and then this Friday marks the return of the Magic Arena Cube. So we'll be doing a bunch of Cube drafts from then onward. They're going to be putting a lot of the new cards from the new Historic Anthology and Explorers Anthology in the Cube, I am sure. So that should be a pretty spicy time, so really looking forward to that. But in the meantime, as always, we've got more of the current Premier Draft format, so some more Streets of New Capenna. So that is going to end today's video, and as always at the end of the video, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more of these videos in your recommended feeds. But other than that, once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more Magic Arena.